Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Ukraine. Last week, your colleague here at the briefing said that Ukraine's rebel forces are responsible for, quote, the overwhelming number of violations of the Minsk agreements. I'm looking at the OSCE daily reports for the last 2 months, daily reports of violations, and here's what they show. Ceasefire violations. In 9 of their reports, it appears that Donetsk and Lugansk forces have violated the ceasefire. In 8 of their reports, it appears that the Ukrainian government has violated the ceasefire. In 9 of the reports, it was not clear who violated that ceasefire. Now, withdrawal of heavy weapons, rebel forces, 33 reports of violations, government forces, 35 reports of violations. This is hardly a vast majority behind that.
I haven't seen.
A question.
Go ahead.
Where do you, and I mean the State Department, get the information that the rebel forces are responsible for the vast majority of violations?
From a variety of sources, including the OSCE. So I'm happy to take a look at what you quoted specifically and look at the numbers underlying that.
I'm looking at.
But there are a lot of numbers here, and a lot of people can use numbers in different ways, and I want to take a look at them myself. But what we know from the OSCE. Again, I can take a look at what numbers you're quoting, and I'm happy to get into them specifically and see what more we can say.
The daily reports, their daily reports do not show an overwhelming majority.
I think our experts who look at them say something different. So let me go back to our team. But everything we're getting from the OSCE and other sources of information indicates that a vast majority, as my colleague said, are from the Russian separatist combined forces. So we can go through the numbers, and I'm happy to do that. But again, I would also mention that the Russian separatist forces are preventing OSCE access in many places, and they're not letting them in to see what's actually going on.
A simple question. Do you acknowledge that the Ukrainian government, too, is violating the Minsk agreements?
Well, I think by saying a vast majority are the Russian separatist forces, that would then indicate that a very small minority are on the other side. But let's also remember here.
That is not clear from the OSCE daily
I just told you I would look at them, and we can get into a numbers game here and see what numbers you're using and what other experts, including our team, says. Broadly speaking, though, this is Ukrainian territory. The Ukrainians have a right to defend themselves when Russia sends into their territory heavy weapons, tanks, fighters, across that, just today, across the ceasefire line into Ukrainian territory.
But that was not my question. Can I? It's a simple yes or no question.
I think I just answered your question.
That the Ukrainian government too is violating the Minsk agreements? Yes or no?
We don't do yes or no's here. I think I just answered your question when I said if a large majority is the Russian separatist forces, then there's a very small minority that is on the other side. I think I answered your question. I'm not going to play that game with you.
It is not
Justin,
a game.
Justin, let's move on.
OSCE reports show violations on both sides.
I said I would look into those reports, and I don't have anything else for you until I've seen them myself.
Why do you feel so uncomfortable to acknowledge that the Ukrainian government too is violating the Minsk agreements?
I don't feel uncomfortable about. I just answered your question.
Then why you did not answer? Yes or no? Did you answer the question?
I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to answer the question in the way I think is appropriate, and I just did, and I'm going to move on.
Which is not answering.
Justin?
Just on this break.
Yeah, or Matt, go ahead.
As far as I can tell, you are acknowledging that there are some violations. You say
we've said that publicly.
Exactly.
Correct.
But why did it take so long to get to the point where you would acknowledge them? I mean, 2 weeks ago, there was no answer to the question at all. Not even what you said. Why?
I think often information is just conflicting, and we don't have all the information we need to answer that question. And in part, again, because OSCE monitors can't get into a lot of these places.
Given if we accept what you say is happening, and there are certainly independent reports of big fighting going on, isn't Minsk dead now?
Well, we firmly believe that Minsk is the path forward here. And the Russians signed it, the Ukrainians signed it, and the Russians, when we were there, said privately and publicly they would implement it, which they haven't done yet. And we believe it is the right framework moving forward to de-escalate here, that it has in it the ingredients we need. What needs to happen isn't some new framework, it's the Russians actually implementing it.
Given what you said today, are you saying then that when we were in Sochi, that President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov lied to the Secretary?
Not at all. Well, not at all. They said it public. Foreign Minister Lavrov said it in his press availability.
But you seem to be taken aback a little bit by the fact that there is fighting going on and saying that the Russians are violating it. So I just want to know, do think the Russians are backing out,
I
going
mean,
back on their word
I'll
that they
let them
gave the
speak.
secretary?
I'll let them speak to the reasons why they haven't fully implemented Minsk yet. That's what I would say.
And then, and this is going to get back to the secretary, but do you know if he's made any calls about this or on other subjects?
He has
while
not
you've been-
today. He has not today. Yes, Pam.